Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Bookaccino Live for June. I can't believe it's June already. I keep doing things and putting up May because I can't believe we're into June already. So here we go. We've got a lot to share with you today. So we are going to start with what your top picks were from May's presentation. Number one is Whistler by Ann Patchett. Number two is A Pair of Aces by Marie Benedict and Virginia Christopher Murray. And that is also Reese's pick this month. We've got Land by Maggie O'Farrell. Lisa Scottolini, This Changes Everything. Matt Haig, The Midnight Train. Christina Baker Klein's The Foursome. And Mary Kay Andrews' Road Trip. I had the pleasure of seeing Ann Patchett speak last week, and I wrote about it in last week's newsletter. And I'm planning to interview Elisa, and I'm hoping I could get back to Victoria Christopher Murray and Marie Benedict. We'll see what their book actually moved. It was supposed to be later this month, and it moved because of Reese. So let me see if I can do that. Meanwhile, I do have a lot of interviews scheduled. Start with fiction. Okay, we've got Contrapposto. Contrapposto. That's on sale this week. Okay, here's what it's about. Cricket Dib, who was born on the American prairie, has no particular prospects or ambitions until he realizes while in grade school that he can draw. He soon meets a girl, Olympia Argyros, who is captivating and brilliant and far more worldly. Recognizing his talent, she convinces him to face, with profound vulgarity, a popular playground. Nice kid. Under her direction, he does it willingly because he's already in love. Oh my gosh, seriously? Thus begins a 65-year entwining between cricket and Olympia, encompassing friendship, working partnership, and love affair. Together, they go to art school, an experience of dubious value, and then navigate the art world for the next 50 years, together and apart. And I have to say, if I looked at the cover, I wouldn't say that that book sounds, super interesting, but like, look at this. He's hearing the plot and seeing, I love the way they did the quotes. The Ravishing by Andrew Sean Greer, Extraordinary by Lauren Groff, and I love this book by Lily King. So I love the way that that was handled. Next, we've got The Misconnection by Tia Williams. She was actually on the Today Show the other day. This is out this week. As a booked and busy casting agent, Sasha Cruz is always casting. She's always about finding the perfect person to slot into the perfect role. What she doesn't do well is relationships. On a flight to Paris for work, a chance encounter with her type changes everything. She's seated next to a broodingly attractive mystery man and sparks fly, but they never exchange contact information. Convinced she's lost out on her soulmate, Sasha emails her work friend for help, but accidentally writes to the entire company worldwide. Those moments are not good. And it becomes an international manhunt to find CF. I love this. Meanwhile, she takes matters into her own hands. She hires a smoldering detective she knew in another lifetime who complicates matters in unforeseen and in irresistible ways. This is definitely a wild love story. Next, we've got Rasputin Swims the Potomac by Ben Fountain. This is coming from Flatiron. It's out this week. Now, just listen to this plot. Reporter Clarence Thomas Jr. is looking for a great story. Former country music teen star Faith Spack has parlayed her fame into a job at the White House, and the two-term incumbent president is campaigning for a constitutionally dubious third term. After an outbreak and a campaign rally, a mysterious new pandemic of weeping sickness sweeps the nation. Desperate to retain power, the president enlists the mystical pro wrestler Rasputin to help ensure his reelection and guarantee additional seasons of his presidential reality show, The Real West Wing. But as Rasputin's appeal threatens to exceed the president's, and the wrestler's supposedly supernatural powers start to seem like the real thing, the campaign finds itself trapped in a spandex-clad destiny no number of executive orders can control. Complete parody, everybody, complete parody. Let's see if it's as well done as it sounds here. Really. People have every single thing becomes content, copy for content. Next, we've got Villa Coco by Andrew Sean Greer. It's out this week. An aspiring archivist determined to begin a serious life after an undistinguished undergraduate career takes up residence in the Italian countryside. Here he becomes the all-purpose assistant to the Baronessa, known to her friends as Coco, a defiantly youthful and naturally flamboyant woman of 92. He does his best to catalog the villa's extensive collection of art and antiques, although he notices that things seem to go missing from right under his nose. Despite himself, he tumbles into an affair with a married man, complicating his future plans considerably. And when the Baronessa loses someone close to her, he becomes an unwitting accomplice in the acceleration of Coco's great and final plan to locate the love of her life and be reunited before it's too late. Andrew Sean Greer is the Pulitzer Prize winning author of Less, so you know in his hands this is going to be so well done. Next, we've got Arrivals and Departures by Amanda Ward. And if any of you remember her book, The Jet Setters, that came out, I remember interviewing her, I believe, in our office, so it could have been 2019. This is kind of a companion to that, though it's a read alone as well. The Perkins family has problems. They're scattered all over the globe. Lee, a glamorous reality TV star, is struggling with her mental health in the spotlight. Reagan, her younger sister, has fallen for a romance scammer. Cord, their charming brother, is one drink away from losing it all. And their mother, Charlotte, still longs for the love she let slip away a decade ago, a lover who sailed off with her heart to a remote island in Greece. When Reagan disappears, Lee flies first class to Athens to save her family again. There, against the glittering Mediterranean in the shadow of the apocalypse, Lee contends with the emotional nieces, relentless paparazzi, and her own fragile heart. She's desperately seeking for her sister and for the hope and joy she thought was gone forever. So this is another enticing book that takes place at a beautiful place. And I love books that takes me to places that I have not yet visited. Next, we've got Little Wonder by Sophie Chen Keller. This is one of our books that we gave away during our Mother's Day promotion, and it is also one of our summer reading titles. And supposedly there's some big news in the works for this book as well, so keep your eyes peeled. Song is a nobody, just a food delivery worker from a village in northeastern China, but her son River is a little wonder. At the age of 4, he toddled to a piano and tapped out his favorite song. At 8, he mastered Liszt's okay, Liebesdrama. I know that's wrong. At 10, he blazed through the complete set of Chopin's etudes. And at every step, song is there to light his way until finally, at the age of 11, River is invited to study with a preeminent teacher in Beijing. But in the chaos of Beijing railway station, Song faces every mother's nightmare. She loses her grip on his little hand and is unable to find him after a desperate, harrowing search. Over to the next days, weeks, and eventually years, Song and River fight to forge a path back to each other as they carve out new lives that carry them farther apart. Now, I always say that this is not my favorite cover for this book. I think it's not doing what I think the book should be doing. I'm being blunt. Don't tell the publisher. But I think I actually said it in meeting. But the story just sounds really terrific because if you think about the size of China and what's happening with this child, really, really interesting to see how she's going to try to work her way back to him. Next, we've got The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson. Absolutely loved her book, Pineapple Street. I am going to be interviewing her. Coming out June 30th. When Caroline Lash arrives in Greenhead, Massachusetts, she falls head over heels for Van Whitaker. Born and raised in this picturesque coastal village, Van runs with the same crowd he did as a kid. His ex-girlfriend Bailey, Augusta, who's old money, horsey, and snobbish, and Fran, who's too fed up with boys to ever consider marrying one. And together the group runs wild through the marshes, beaches, and bars of Greenhead, drinking on houseboats and spending long afternoons sunbathing with their children. But when Bailey discovers that she is pregnant with Van's baby, the delicate balance of the group's friendship is thrown off. Soon Caroline is cast out of the circle. What she does next exposes long-held secrets and works the entire town of Greenhead into a lather. Got it? A shampoo effect. Can't wait to read it. Looking forward to it so much. Next, let's do some historical fiction. We're going to start out with Daughters of the Sun and Moon by Lisa C., which is out this week. If you got the On Sale This Week newsletter, you've already seen the terrific review we have for this book. I have read it, loved it. I've already interviewed Lisa. It is one of my bets on selections and is a summer reading title that we have right now. And I'll give you a little flash about that. The contest we're leaving open through tomorrow at noon to give you time to enter. It usually only runs 24 hours and we're running this for 48. That's how passionate I am about this book. So what do we have? A story that I knew nothing about. It's kind of story that Lisa is constantly looking for and mining and then writing beautifully about. It's 1870. three Chinese women arrive in the small, dusty, and violent pueblo of Los Angeles. Dove, the Moundfoot daughter of an imperial scholar, is entrancing and innocent. These characteristics should bring her great rewards, beginning with her arranged marriage to a much older merchant. Petal, the big-footed daughter of peasants, has grown up hungry and with dirt between her toes. In a moment of desperation, Petal's father sells her to buy enough money for rice seed. She's loaded on a ship to the Gold Mountain, America, where she's once again sold. Moon is married to a doctor of traditional medicine. She's educated, speaks fluent English, and has been endowed with a face of great beauty. Yet her failed foot binding as a child has left her with a limp that lessens her value in the eyes of many. Anti Chinese sentiment is strong in Los Angeles, and this leads to the Night of Horrors, during which all three women are challenged in ways they never could have imagined. And Lisa paints a picture of exactly what LA was like at that time. The prejudice was there. And then the opening of the book, she talks about on a page how the way things happened after this night of horrors in Los Angeles is one of the reasons that her great grandfather migrated there years ago. So, fabulous book. She's on the road, she's doing a ton of events. I'm going to catch her in Manasquan next week. If anybody's there, please say hi. We had a couple of people say hi when we were at Symphony Space last week with Ann Patchett. You're there, be sure to say hi, but really check out the tour. She's pretty much across the country. Next, we've got Lost in the Summer of 69. I'm going to start singing that song. Summer 1969, Eleanor Bell doesn't have anything to lose. According to her doctors, she might not remember how to sing or play the guitar soon, so why not head west now? Why not join the music festival sweeping the country and lose herself in the music again in a swan song of her own? Except Eleanor forgets, maybe on purpose, to tell anyone where she's going. When her daughter Leanne discovers her mother's missing, she enlists the help of her own daughter, Nora, to help her find Eleanor. The last thing Nora wants to do before starting as one of Yale's first female undergrads is hit the road. Then Nora hears her grandmother on the radio singing. Nora and Leanne hop in their Lincoln Continental for a cross-country road trip, always one step behind Eleanor. I always want to drive cross country, so this book will definitely have appeal to me. Okay, I'm reading this right now and loving it. It's When You Loved Me by Beatrice Williams. I'm going to be doing an interview with her, I believe, next week, and it'll be running shortly after the book comes out. When a young widow, Lucy Cooper, returns to her family's crumbling Winthrop Island estate, and we know Beatrice loves Winthrop Island and has written about it before, she's forced to confront both her estranged father's mysterious death and the man she's never truly forgotten. 13 summers ago, she fell hard for Ben Ressler, a Golden Boy athlete whose presence shattered her closest friendship and changed her life forever. Now, Ben is back, his own career derailed by a tragedy, and you'll learn what that is right up front. As Lucy investigates her father's obsession with a rumored pirate treasure, long buried secrets, we know they're coming, folks, and emotions resurface. So we put this in historical fiction simply because it's got that background story, the backstory that is about pirate, and it's written from that POV. The people, not the pirates, I'm sorry, people that were living on this land where supposedly this pirate treasure is hidden. Absolutely loving it. I did something different. I was reading it standing in the pool the other day, and then I heard about this new exercise you can do called fluid running, and you can run in the pool. So I put the audio on and started running in the deep end. And now I just realized, wow, I have a new way to keep reading. There's multicast on the audiobook if you want to listen to that as well. Let's do some thrillers and mysteries. We're going to do Based on a True Story by Sarah Vaughan. It's out this week. Famed children's author Dame Eleanor Kingman has summoned her family and friends to her exquisite manor house on the cliffs. They're celebrating her birthday and her latest #1 bestseller in her series of books based on a mother fox and her cubs. But the night before a party, Eleanor receives an email that threatens to expose the lies she's kept up for over half a century. Someone knows her secret. Is it her strange literary agent or ex-husband to whom she no longer speaks? Is it the nanny she fired all those years ago? Or is it one of her 3 daughters, all of whom have a stake in the publishing empire that she has built? With a television crew arriving to film a documentary of her life, Eleanor needs to find out who sent this email and preserve her legacy and her career. So there we've got Based on a True Story. Okay, from Jamie Day. Jamie Day is actually written by a man and a woman, And Tom, I am spacing the name of the author, the male author and his girlfriend. If you could just look that up when I finish this, I would love it. Um, After being evicted from a New York apartment, struggling author Holly Sinclair returns to her family's dilapidated beach house in coastal New England with one urgent goal: write a book that sells fast. Gail, a driven local realtor, introduces Holly to a charming handyman who can help her get back on her feet. Serena, the town's psychic, offers encouragement and an unsettling warning about the danger ahead. And Jade, a teen runaway, is hiding out in Holly's attic. Holly takes Jade in, and soon the girl finds work with the powerful Carmichael family. Their dynasty has faded, but their connection to Holly's past is darker than she wants to remember. Not everyone is glad to see Holly return. Someone in town is watching her every move. The watcher knows something that Holly doesn't. And Jamie Day was the author of The Block Party, which I picked as a bets on a couple of years ago. Tom, who is it? Remind me. Do you remember who Jamie Day actually is?
Yeah, sorry about that. And actually, people are saying in the chat it's Daniel Palmer.
Yes. And he's writing with a woman, and it's a woman he's in a relationship with, and I cannot remember her name. So the two of them are writing together, and they kept it quiet for a while, but now they'll reveal it. Got a lot of books set in beach locations, folks. It's gonna be a good summer. Okay, now we've got You First by Caroline Kepnes. You may remember that she's got that show out on Netflix, the hit series You, which is so disturbing. Um, okay, so how did Joel Goldberg become Joel Goldberg? What led to his first love, his first obsession, his first kill? Find out in this highly anticipated prequel to her You series, which inspired the blockbuster Netflix show. Joe is ready for his life to start. He's 17 years old, working at Mr. Mooney's bookshop, falling in love with every girl on the subway, all while wondering who will be the one. And then he spots Miss Connection, NYC bookstore babe. Someone is looking for Joe, and that someone is Vale Gunderson, production assistant with a passion for rom-coms. The only catch is she's 24, which means Joe has no choice but to lie about his age, and naturally, nearly everything else in his life. He thinks he's found his true love, but when Vale needs more convincing that Joe is her happily ever after, he's determined to convince her, no matter what it takes. And you've watched you know what it could take. Next, we've got Midnight Patriots from Paul Levine, an Einstein Chaplin thriller. It's coming on June 16th. It's going to be one of our summer reading titles. Blending fact and fiction, Midnight Patriots follows the real-life friends Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin as they confront powerful enemies threatening America. It's 1940. Europe is in flames. Germany occupies most of the continent, and the Blitz reigns terror on London. Fritz, let's see if I can do this. Duquesne, a German spy straight from the history books, plots to kidnap Einstein and steal America's nuclear secrets. Enraged by Chaplin's mockery in The Great Detector, Adolf Hitler dispatches an SS assassin to silence the man who ridiculed him. As Nazi agents and FBI operatives close in, all roads lead Einstein and Chaplin to a deadly showdown aboard the Santa Fe Super Chief as it races from Chicago to LA. Then we've got Midnight Patriots. Next, we've got Nasty Little Secrets by Gabby Hanks, coming on June 16th. Rose Dearling's life changed forever when her brother was imprisoned for the murder of his high school sweetheart. And now, a decade after the crime ripped her family apart and her Florida home apart, Rose is the only one who still believes he didn't do it. So much so that she wrote a best-selling book about the case to cement his innocence. This may have gained her a bad reputation, but it also brought her a new life in Manhattan, far away from where it all began. And then Rose gets a call that shadows her world for a second time. Her younger sister has gone missing. Back home and under the same roof as her family for the first time in years, Rose begins to search for her sister. But when connections between both past and present cases emerge, Rose realizes that her own book could hold all the answers. This is going to be a summer reading title around the time that it comes out on June 16th. Okay, now we've got Someone Else's Husband by Kimberly McRae, also coming out on June 16th. Gretchen Falk, a Park Avenue sophisticate born into great wealth and blessed with a storybook marriage, tried to convince her devoted husband, Richard, not to join his old college friends on an expedition to an imposing peak of Mount Kilimanjaro. Frankie Callahan's dream of artistic success is within reach, with her career-making exhibition at a celebrated New York gallery only weeks away. To mark this new beginning, she is going to climb Kilimanjaro, but she certainly didn't count on meeting anyone like Richard Falk. By the time they descend, they have lost more than they ever could have imagined. Now, in less than 2 weeks after the return, Frankie's East Village loft is a blood-soaked crime scene, and Richard has been charged with her murder. So there's really something interesting on only Park Avenue. We're talking about Kilimanjaro. Someplace else I will not climb. Okay. Next from Lisa Jill, we have It Could Have Been Her. Time to read this. I would love to talk to her again. I love talking to Lisa Jill, so maybe I'll try and set that up. Jane Trevally is walking her dogs on a country estate when a small white terrier appears alone and with no sign of the teenage girl he's been staying with nearby. When the teenager is reported missing, Jane offers to return the dog to his registered owner. Arriving at a rundown house called Thornwood in the deepest backwaters of Hampstead, she's immediately on alert because Jane has a dark history with this house. The man who answers the door is not the man Jane remembers from her past. He's cagey and claims to know nothing about the missing teenage girl. And then through the windows of the house, Jane catches a glimpse of a haunted looking woman. Conjuring her moments from 25 years ago, Jane knows this unsettling house holds the key to the missing teenager, to her own traumatic story, and to the dark secrets of the past. So there we've got It Could Have Been Her. I've also decided I think I need to name our house. I think we're going to do that. Everybody names their house. I think I need to start thinking about that. Meanwhile, we live on like a rural street, but there are like houses right next door, but we can pretend. Next, we've got Nine Lives by Catherine Steadman. It is coming out on June 23rd. Reeling from a recent divorce, Frankie has moved into a glamorous London neighborhood. This is a new chapter in her life. She decided to put down roots with her beautiful Persian cat, Blue. But little doubts about her perfect new life start to grow. And when Blue returns one night from slipping into places he shouldn't, Frankie's concerns solidify. Two words are roughly scratched into his collar: help me. Unsettled and unwilling to ignore the incident, Frankie roots out an old, unused cat cam collar. What slowly begins a voyeuristic fascination with her neighbors and the secrets they're hiding soon turns into a perilous quest for the truth that threatens to bring untold terrors to her doorstep. I'm sorry. And I just really love the cats, the nine lives of cats. A sleek, unsettling puzzle of a novel, gripping and haunting, says Harlan Coben. Next, we've got Teach the Torches to Burn from Christina Dodd. It's also a summer reading title. We're going to be doing that contest in the beginning of July. Romeo and Juliet invite you to join them in celebrating the union of their spinster daughter Rosie to Escalus, a young prince of Verona, where murder is the unexpected guest at the wedding. If I, Rosie, blushing bride, noted cynic and sleuth, were asked to identify when the pre-wedding event spiraled out of control, I'd point that to the moment when elderly Princess Ursula announced that she would hold a public seance to determine the future of the marriage. With the aid of Yorick's skull and her own considerable dramatic nature, Princess Ursula prophesied three things. The marriage will be joyous and fertile, a long-lost treasure would be found, and a foul and most unnatural murder would disrupt the fragile peace of Verona. As one death follows another, and it's clear a skilled poisoner lurks among us, I use all my wit and skill to discern the reason for the vendetta and uncover the killer's identity. This is based on one of the classics. See if you can figure out which one it is. Next, we've got The Delivery by Greg Hurwitz coming on July 1st. Rebecca and Mark Higgins are doing their best to hold their family together. She's healing from the pain of a miscarriage. He's drowning in pressure at work. And their neurodivergent daughter, Maddie, needs all the help and care she can get. So when a cutting-edge tech company offers them the perfect solution, they jump at the chance. They welcome Mr. Man, a humanoid AI companion, into their home. Designed to anticipate their needs, he's a miracle at first. The house runs like clockwork. Meals appear on the table. And Maddie thrives under his patient attention. But when inexplicable tragedies start to strike the neighborhood, Rebecca glimpses a darker pattern at play. Each incident is an answer to an unspoken fear, each kindness shadowed by violence. Mr. Man isn't following instructions. He's anticipating that they want, even the things they never dared to say. You know Greg as the best-selling author of the Orphan X series. And they said this brilliant blockbuster-esque dive into tech's seductive promise of domestic ease. And that comes from David Duchovny, from a New York Times best-selling author and actor. Let's do some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction. And we're going to kick it off with Centennial by Virgis M. Bordwish, and it's out this week. Held at Fairmount Park in Philadelphia, the Great Centennial Exhibition of 1876 attracted 10 million Americans and visitors from all over the world. On display were inventions that signaled the changing landscape of American life, from the typewriter to the telephone to Heinz tomato ketchup. Celebration of America's first century came at a moment when its future seemed more precarious than ever. Looming over the fair was the presidential race of 1876, a highly contested election that would determine the fate of Reconstruction and permanently shape the Republican Party as we know it today. Fergus Bordewich animates these converging crises through the lives of four protagonists: Rutherford B. Hayes, Alexander Graham Bell, railroad magnates Tom Scott, and sculptor Edmonia Lewis. Sounds very, very interesting, especially as we approach the next anniversary. Okay, this book has got a changed date. It was originally going to come out on May 26th. It's now coming out on June 9th. Tom, our super sleuth editorial director, has gotten this word for you. This is The Killer and Frank Lloyd Wright. It's by Casey Sherman. It's a true story of a mass murder in paradise. Frank Lloyd Wright is more than the mind of beyond America's iconic buildings. He's a man whose turbulent private life captivated a nation. The famous architect's stormy marriage to Kitty Wright and his infamous affair with another woman, Mama Borthwick, ignited one of the country's first celebrity scandals, splashed upon headlines from coast to coast. And then in 1914, scandal turned to tragedy. A tragedy at Taliesin, the Wisconsin home Wright built as a monument to love, shook the very foundation of Wright's life and catapulted him back to the front pages of newspapers across the country as readers clamored for glimpses of his very darkest moments. In this book, Casey delves behind the myth of Wright's genius to reveal a man of relentless ambition, consuming passion, and devastating loss. I've been lucky enough to be at both Taliesin East and West. I was at them at the same year, which made it even more fun. And you sit and see the architect, you sit and see the furniture, but now this is the other side of the man. Also, there is a great piece. I want to say it's running on Netflix, but I could be on HBO, about two women that got together and took the floor plans and built the Last Wright House. I think the show is called The Last Wright House. It's extremely well done. It's a series. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Next, we've got The Housewives Underground by Caitlin Tinnefey. It's the untold story of the women who made the JFK assassination our most enduring mystery. Coming on June 23rd. In the winter of 1967, the official account of the Kennedy assassination was beginning to unravel. A scattered group of Americans had pointed to major problems with the report prepared by President Johnson's hand-picked Warren Commission. Many of the most serious criticisms of the government's work came from a source that surprised some: women, who within the community of critics outnumbered the men 2-1. Politicians and reporters dismissed these women, referring to them as scavengers, suggesting they were eccentrics with murder mystery fixations or crushes on the deceased President Kennedy. But Caitlin Tiffany resurrects the story of Maggie Field, Shirley Martin, and Sylvia Meager, whose collaboration and friendship reshaped both their own lives and our national memory. Interesting to take a look back. Okay, we're going to July titles from the second half of the month. We're going to kick it off with Cool Machine by the two-time Pulitzer Prize winner, Colson Whitehead, coming on July 21st. Cool Machine is the final volume in Colson Whitehead's Harlem trilogy. Now it's 1981. New York City is beginning to emerge from financial ruin and decline. Up in Harlem, Ray Carney has just been named Sterling Furniture's Dealer of the Month. But when the banks won't give his beloved wife Elizabeth a loan for her new travel agency, he gambles on one last heist. 1983. To some, Carney's friend and partner in crime, Pepper, is a stone-cold sociopath. To others, a thief with questionable people skills. Either way, he's filling his aged and his troubled gut and his aching bones. 1986. Carney's always been haunted by his inability to save his cousin Freddie. Now, 20 years after Freddie's death, he has a chance to rescue Freddie's son from the violent forces of the city. But after coming out of retirement and teaming up with Pepper again, it's mean rescuing his family's safety and security. He spent decades building for his family with only one shot to get it right. So if you want, you can finally read all the 3 books in the trilogy and put the stories together. Now we've got Dad, Love Me by Matthew Quick. This is a memoir coming July 21st. Matthew Quick traveled all over the country advocating for mental health awareness, standing before crowds as a success story. But secretly, he was depressed. And on some days, he didn't want to live. Years earlier, when he first told his father that he wanted to be a novelist, the response was immediate and brutal. Idiot. Quickly channeled his pain into his debut novel, The Silver Linings Playbook, crafting a complex father-son dynamic drawn straight from his own life. The book became a New York Times bestseller and was adapted into an Oscar-winning film. Still, the approval Quick longed for never came. His father remained cold and withholding. The deeper the rift between them grew, the deeper Quick sank into anxiety and addiction. And in this book, he takes readers deep into his psyche as he wrestles with both his own mental health and his father's cognitive decline. Very interesting. This is the kind of thing where you'd see a success with the book, see a success with the movie, and say, that guy's got it all. And then you see the other side of the story. I find stories like that so interesting. Next, we've got The Mortons, which is by Justine Lestier and Scott Westerfeld. It's coming on July 21st. Mortons are a modern day old money dynasty with impeccable taste, from their exquisitely crafted cocktails to their expertly tailored vintage garments. They're also stone cold killers. For the Mortons, homicide is heritage. They, along with other crime families, sent their progeny to Hellshire College, where legacy students learn to exercise control over their wealthy peers. Jessica Morton has always excelled at Hellshire, secure in the knowledge that she is the prodigy of her generation. And now, having committed her first kill, it should be her moment, her honor. But that kill will cut in more ways than one, unknotting a series of revelations spanning Morton's country estate, the New York City art world, and Hellshire itself. So there we've got The Mortons. I was invited to a party for this book. I wish I could have attended it. It's like fun. Next, we've got Unsayable, A Life in Writing by Michael Cunningham, also a winner of the Pulitzer Prize, coming on July 21st. At the age of 3, Michael Cunningham began obsessively collecting the names of things: oak, Chevrolet, Finch, tulip, Tupperware. Each word rendered the world ever so slightly more understandable, more describable, kicking off a lifelong love affair with language, one that would eventually, maybe inevitably, lead him to become a writer. In Unsayable, Cunningham's memories spill forth, and with them reflections on the craft of writing. He's 15 in a swimming pool at night, gazing at the first boy he ever fell in love with. He's a new college graduate setting off for nowhere in a Dodge Dart, hoping to pull meaning and a novel from the expanse of America. He's on Cape Cod, regaling an elderly couple with inventive tales of his sexual escapades. He's in an art gallery, unwittingly having the first of a lifetime conversation with the man that he would marry. So there we've got Unsayable, A Life in Writing. Next, from Nadia Shimin, I'm very interested in this book. We've got City of Widows. I've interviewed her before, and I hope to do so again. February 2020, the U.S. began to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan after nearly 20 years of occupation. A whole generation of Afghan women have been born during that time. Women have grown up in relative peace, gone to school, entered professions, and even served in the army and parliament. The women of Afghanistan watched as the Taliban filled the streets again. In the bustling cosmopolitan city of Kabul, women are newscasters, shop owners, doctors, teachers, lawyers, even soldiers. They include Marjan, who fought with the Afghan army and will risk everything to save her daughter, keep her daughter safe. Soraya led the army's all-female combat force over the objections of her upper-class family. She's now a wanted woman whose brother may choose not to shelter her from the Taliban. What will become of her? Or Mina, a journalist and broadcaster whose beautiful face is known to everyone in Kabul, including the new regime. Haven't talked a lot about what happened after we left Afghanistan. Nadia is the international best-selling author of The Pearl That Broke Its Shell. I absolutely love that book. I know many of you read it as well, so looking forward to this one. Try and get an interview. Okay, from Sherry LaPena, we've got Getting Away with Murder. Always love her books. I call her my one sit read or my one stand in the pool read because they're so good. And then I write her and tell her that the months she took to write that book, I read it in hours, because I just love them. This one's devilly delicious, says Frida McFadden. Here's what we've got. Jill and Ted adore their New York brownstone the way other people adore their children. It reflects who they are, their status, their tastes. With grand mahogany staircase and state-of-the-art kitchen, it's the stuff of glossy magazines and real estate dreams. It's their sanctuary. So when Ted's inheritance runs out and he makes a bad investment, they panic. How can they protect their beloved home and enviable lifestyle? The answer is obvious. The death of one wealthy family member with whom they stand to inherit millions could solve all their problems. Together, they will get away with murder. As long as they trust each other, as long as neither makes a mistake, as long as there are no surprises. So let's see if they can get away with murder. Kristen Harmel, we've got Meet Me in Paris coming on July 28th. Julia Glover has brought her 23-year-old daughter Piper to Paris for the first time, but they know it will also be their last trip together. Julie is dying, and as the mother and daughter desperately try to make memories together as the clock ticks down, the world opens up around them. Rock star Jackson Quick's glory days are behind him, and this week he'll launch his reunion tour in Paris, the city where it all began. When he meets a woman who finally sees him for who he is at his core, the ground shifts beneath his feet. Henry McGee has been writing hit songs for decades, including Jackson Quick's biggest hit, City of Light. But his secret is that every love song he's ever written is for a woman named Celeste, whom he loved a lifetime ago. He spent 80 years believing she died, and then a letter arrives telling him the opposite. These intertwining stories, plus several others, unfold over a breathtaking few spring days. So there we've got Meet Me in Paris. August titles to look forward to. Yes, we're giving you some of those. We're starting with The Amateur by Chris Bajelian, which I've been hearing such wonderful things about. It's coming on August 4th. In 1978, temperatures are flirting with 90 on an August day when 8-year-old Mira Winston drives a golf ball from her tee towards the practice net near the clubhouse in Caddyshack. The golf ball, weighing 1.6 ounces, tears through the net, traveling 150 miles per hour, and slams into the temple of high school junior Kenny Foster, rupturing an artery and unleashing a torrent of blood. Kenny brings his hand to the side of his head. He topples on his side. He's dead before the ambulance ever arrives. In the wake of this terrible accident, everyone at first agrees it was an accident. Mira looks for the comfort in all the wrong places. But when investigators look more closely at the torn net, when a detective reflects Mira's story of recklessness, and when Kenny's father spies Mira with her married lover, the affluent and manor community turns on this once promising young woman. See, my husband plays golf so much, and I have to tell him it could be deadly. I mean, it could be deadly traveling 150 miles an hour into the side of your head. I don't think it'll keep him home, though. Okay, next we've got The Blue Flame by George Pelecanos coming on August 4th. The neon strange investigation sign may be flickering in disrepair outside his office, but private investigator Derek Strange is still accepting new cases. When a flashy drug dealer hires him to prove an alibi for his accused murderer, Strange can't help getting drawn into the darkness. In his hunt for answers, he stands his ground against some of Washington, D.C.'s most dangerous criminals, and a police department doesn't entirely welcome his interference. As the violence escalates and claims another victim, he raises the stakes. The raised stakes force Strange to question his own moves. Are his instincts still intact? I think this is a very cool cover. Next, from Jeffrey Deaver, we've got Deceptions, a short story collection featuring Coulter Shaw and Lincoln Rhyme. Comes on August 4th. A murder at a crime writers' conference. The method is entirely literary, and the motive seems obvious. But can the detective who was there first on the scene puzzle out what needs reading between the lines? A brilliant sleuth obsessed with Sherlock Holmes mysteries turns his attention to a serial killer stalking the streets of New York City. But as delusions bring him closer to his prey, he starts to wonder who's really doing the hunting. Mysterious woman has gone into hiding, and Coulter Shaw is tasked with bringing her to a safe house. But with a hitman on his trails, the race goes towards safety, taking on a whole new meaning. A serial killer with a motive never before seen in the history of crime challenges Lincoln Rhyme and Amelia Sachs to rethink everything they know about the nature of evil and the evidence its perpetrators leave at the scene. And it's really funny because Coulter Shaw is the name of the guy that's on Tracker, which I really love watching on Sunday night. And I don't think Deaver's associated with it at all. It's just interesting that name's there. Okay, we've got The Unknown by Riley Sager coming on August 4th. Struggling actress Maureen Keane is shocked when she lands a role in a major motion picture about an unsolved mystery of New Avalon, an island on sprawling Lake Faraday in Vermont. She's even more surprised when she learns that the role requires a week-long research trip to that very spot. Because New Avalon isn't your ordinary island. A century ago, it was a commune for spiritual mediums until they all vanished in 1926. The only trace of them was 5 dresses hanging from the branches of an old oak tree in the middle of an island, one for each missing woman. Not long after arriving, Marin and her castmates, including legendary actress Violet Wright and white hot director Ronan Peters, begin to realize that all is not right with New Avalon. And after a sudden health emergency leaves Marin, Ronan, and the other actors stranded on the island, the disappearances begin again. So there we've got The Unknown. Next, from Sarah Pekkanen, we've got The Women in White. It's coming on August 4th. In 1964, 4 remarkable young women at a prestigious university become the subjects of a parapsychology experiments by a visionary scientist. On the cusp of an historic breakthrough, the women mysteriously vanish, programs erased from history. And decades later, Riley Bell, newly divorced and desperate for a fresh start, accepts a caretaker job for an elderly widow named Betty. Riley steps into the home that is frozen in another era. This will be fun. No microwave, no television or cell phones. And Betty's never heard of the internet. I don't know if she's lucky or not. Why Betty has lived in such profound isolation for so many years, and why does she need Riley now? The story involves across 2 timelines: Betty's 1960s era of 5 o'clock martinis and high stakes experiments, and Riley's quest to uncover the truth about the missing woman. Old secrets rise to the surface, and the only way to survive is to confront the mystery that has lingered for 60 years. I wonder if this woman reads books since she's not watching TV or on her cell phone. See if that gets uncovered. Lisa Gardner, also coming on August 4th, clearly a big pub day, is You'll Be Sorry. Raquel, a renowned interior designer, and Theo, brash financial wizard, met and married in a matter of months, only to confront a terrible tragedy. Now unbearably aware of the distance between them, they've come to a remote town in New Hampshire to begin again. Perched on a ledge with stunning views, the Dixon's family lodge was once the crown jewel of the mountains, until late one August night when both parents and their 4 children vanished, leaving behind a trail of bloody footprints and a mystery that's endured for 30 years. And now its latest occupants, Raquel and Theo, are arriving, and the former Grand Lodge is once again stirring to life. When a stray dog leads to the discovery of a skeleton on the property, Raquel and Theo face a daunting choice of what to believe, who to trust, and how to survive. I love that line. You'll be sorry. You're going to be sorry you rented that house. From Karen Slaughter, we've got The Secrets We Hide coming on August 11th. In 1601, Irish Drive looks like any other house on the quiet residential street. But rumors are rampant about the Vickery family and what goes on behind closed doors. When gunshots ring out, Sheriff Emmy Clifton and her sister, ex-federal agent Jude Archer, discover a devastating crime scene. Allison Vickery has been murdered in her own kitchen, and her teenage daughter is bleeding upstairs, left for dead. Everyone thinks they know what happened, but secrets are buried everywhere in this small town, and it's up to Emmy Clifton to uncover the truth. So there we've got Karen Slaughter's The Secrets We Hide. Makes you think, like, sometimes, okay, everybody on your street, what would happen if something like there's a murder that happened? What would happen if we all were, like, being raided for some reason? How would everyone behave? I think about that. Don't you? Okay, next, got Sunrise from Tia Obrecht, and this is coming on August 11th. 2024, Nina's small engine plane crashes into a lake in the Wyoming mountains. Her boyfriend, Ben, who's flying it, is nowhere to be found. And then she stumbles upon Sunrise, a town of the Old West that holds the missing link to a ghost story 100 years in the making. 2003, Sandaw's Golden Boy Cole is putting the finishing touches on the town's annual historic reenactment. But when an upstart would-be author comes to him with questions about one of Sunrise's beloved figures, threatens to upend everything he thought he knew about the city and himself. 1902, the town founder, gunslinger, and legendary pulp hero Anton Vargas returns to Sunrise and quickly takes charge of a group searching for the missing boy. But who really is Vargas, and what does he know about the boy's disappearance, and why has he returned after such a long absence? These 3 strangers are separated by time and circumstance, but Sunrise's many secrets are like gunpowder, quiet and contained, until they encounter a spark. So let's see what happens with Sunrise. Then we've got Under the Falls by Richard Russo. You know him as the Pulitzer Prize winning author of Bridge of Sighs. coming on August 11th. When Tyler Sinclair left Stone Mountain at 18, he had no plans of returning, only with a duffel bag full of clothes, a few bucks stolen from his father's dresser, and a guitar. How many musicians are in this presentation, everybody? That should have been the question. A guitar, his most prized possession. Tyler disappeared without so much as a goodbye. 18 years later, Tyler, now the foreman of a famous band aptly named Stone Mountain, finds himself returning to his hometown for a one-night only benefit concert to support his old friend Doc, who lost feeling in his legs following a childhood accident. As Tyler ascends the mountain, memories of his childhood come rushing back, memories of his abusive father and despondent mother, of the friends he left behind. And he quickly learns that for many people on Stone Mountain, the past doesn't feel like so long ago, and not everyone's been eagerly awaiting his return. So it's like he's back, and then we'll see what happens. From William Kent Kruger, we've got God's Country, which is coming out August 18th. We know our readers love Kent. This is actually a very interesting book because it is written in the first person, which I believe he's only done for one other book. So here's what we've got. Preparing for a family trip into the Boundary Waters, Cork O'Connor is troubled by ominous visions about his future. Ignoring the warnings, he uncovers signs of violence while searching for his missing friend, Cordell Bishop. Soon he is forced to negotiate with dangerous criminals, the Kennedy brothers, who are seeking their late father's hidden stash. Facing escalating danger and difficult choices, Cork grapples with his darkest instincts as he tries to help others escape and eventually takes justice into his own hands. And people have been raving about this book. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but raves and in the first person. Next, from with Constantine on August 18th, we've got Promise Me Never. Like that, not promise it forever, for Promise Me Never. Aspiring writer Savannah's scheme to meet superstar horror novelist Bennett Bryson turns out better than she ever imagined. Not only does her charming and handsome literary idol offer to read her work, he's instantly smitten with her. After a whirlwind romance, Savannah says yes to marriage, and the two settle into Bennett's secluded upstate home. Just as she thinks she's got it made, cracks start appearing in her perfect life. Bennett's behavior becomes dark and controlling, and everywhere Savannah cannot escape the shadows of Bennett's first wife, the free-spirited, passionate artist Poppy, who died in a tragic accident, but seems to be Savannah's rival for Bennett's affection. And then comes an enigmatic warning: Bennett's not who he seems. Are we shocked, readers? I don't think we're shocked. The women who came before Savannah have disappeared, and Savannah could be next. Okay, we've got lots of disappearing people. Tom, I'm trying to figure out which word would have been the returning word on today's presentation. Next, we've got the Celadon Dinner that's coming from Rafael Montes. The Guardian says that Rafael Montes is a mixture of Alfred Hitchcock's suspense and Quentin Tarantino's black comedy. Okay, at the Secret Dinner, Dante, Piglet, Miguel, and Hugo are your average students trying to make ends meet with part-time jobs, excited about their bright futures at their fingertips. So when their rent skyrockets, they struggle to keep their lives and big dreams afloat. They need to make money, however they can. And in order to keep their apartment, they adopt an unorthodox plan and are soon sucked into a dark world of secret dinner parties, catering to the twisting fantasies of Rio's elite. What starts out as a joke quickly spirals out of their control, and the four friends feel deeper into this dark underworld and earn more money, and the stakes get higher, the consequences deadlier, revealing devious depths that lurk within each of them, threatening not only their friendship, but also their lives. And then from Liane Moriarty, I think we know this woman. She wrote Big Little Lies. Well, the last time we saw the women in Big Little Lies, their children were 5 years old. But now it's 10 years have passed and the kids are in high school, navigating all the drama that accompanies teendom. Now just picture these women in that situation. It's coming August 25th. The high school principal receives a threatening package in the mail. Word quickly spreads throughout the community. But Madeline, Celeste, Jane, Renata, and Bonnie have other things to worry about. Celeste's mother-in-law, Mary Louise, is behaving oddly. Madeline is facing perhaps the biggest challenge of her life. Jane is at a dangerous fork in her marriage. Bonnie has realized there's only so much solace in yoga. And Renata is living her best life. Revenge is sweet. When a stranger becomes lurking around the school, asking supposedly innocent questions, this tightly connected group of women finally must face the repercussions of the big little truths they have and haven't shared with their kids. I also picture these women pushing their kids really hard to get into college. I just feel it happening. There's going to be a follow-up to Big Little Lies in the series, and I believe it's based on this story. So there you go. Those girls will be back, those women. Okay, with not a word from Linwood Barkley. Always like his books. Always like how he writes character. And David Koch says he's the flat out master of the modern thriller. And he just takes these people, ordinary people, and that you really come to know, and then puts them in these crazy situations. So when Reese visits his parents' house, stops to find them in bed dead. First glance, it looks like a murder-suicide perpetuated by his father, but on closer inspection, there's clearly more to the story. For starters, inconsistencies in the crime scene suggest his dad may not have shot himself. As Reese, shaken by this horrifying discovery, awakes questioning from the police, his phone lights up with a call. It's the last person he ever would expected to hear from. Reeling from the day's events, he finds himself questioning everything he thought he knew about his parents, whether he and his family are in danger now. And while the authorities work to untangle the baffling crime scene, Reese is pulled into a web of secrets linked to the unscrupulous pharma company his father worked for years ago. You know, in Linwood's hands, you're going to get to really understand the characters. And I don't know, he just writes really good about Americana. Okay, and from Tess Gerritsen coming on August 25th, we've got The Shadow Friends. And I just love her books that are set up in Purity, Maine with the Martini Club. So I am really looking forward to this third one. When a renowned disease expert and Russian defector dies mysteriously during a global affairs conference in Purity, Maine, the tight band of former spies in the Martini Club once again see their quiet coastal retirement interrupted by international intrigue. When a waitress at the conference hotel is found murdered, Ingrid Slocum sees chilling links to a disastrous mission that nearly killed her 3 decades ago. Desperate to uncover the truth, Ingrid is drawn back into the game by a magnetic ex-CIA colleague and a former lover who was with her on the long ago doomed mission. He convinced her to join him, and together they head to Amsterdam to track down her would-be killer. Ingrid's frantic husband, Lloyd, and Maggie Bird are close behind, but a clandestine network of assassins is intent on stopping them. Forced to question every allegiance, the Martini Club must rely on the skills they tried to leave behind. I love this group of people, and I love how she sets this up in the town. So, well worth checking out. Okay, here's our paperback releases for this month. We've got Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, James Lee Burke's Don't Forget Me, Little Bessie, Liv Constantine's Don't Open Your Eyes, Reese Witherspoon with Harlan Coben's Gone Before Goodbye, The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis, who's got a book that's coming about the American girls in October. And I was writing to her, next book is coming in January. You got That Last Carolina Summer by Karen White, and that's going to be a contest book. We've got Jennifer Weiner, The Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits. Shari LaPena's She Didn't See It Coming. David Baldacci's Strangers in Time. Ian McEwan's What We Can Know. The Typewriter Beach by Meg White Clayton. And Veer or Faith by Gary Steinhardt. You know, it's really interesting. It used to be that people would say, oh, I can't wait for the paperback to come out. I'm going to hold and not do that. And there's some interesting question I want to ask about that at some point of, are people right now not reading paperbacks, like not waiting for the paperback and reading the hardcover or an ebook or listening to audio? And what has happened to, are you just discovering these books for the first time? I'm very curious about the paperback these days. And my questions about that just came up yesterday. Okay, I've got 13 bets on selections so far this year. The latest ones, I think, since we were here last time, might be yesteryear. Far Flung Life by M.L. Stedman, which I loved. Jane Harper's The Last One Out, and Mad Babel by Sally Hepworth. Those three are set in Australia, a place I'm dying to visit, and I love the way the stories were all set and told there. Catherine Stock at the Calamity Club, which everyone is talking about. My book club is actually reading it next month, even though it's long. They are committed to reading it, and it's been just getting raves from them. We had a great discussion about yesteryear. We all had problems with the book. We all had problems with different parts of the book. We had a great conversation at the end. We said, did everybody like yesteryear? And they said yes, because they liked that it made them think and it was different. So it's a very different book. And of course, upcoming will be Lisa C. with Daughters of Sun and Moon. My copy for that be up in a couple weeks. Okay, here are the two latest interviews that I've done. A Fortune of Sand. I did this with Ruta Sepetys, and I have to tell you, I've met her years ago when she wrote her first book, and we actually talk about that during the interview. She's been writing for YA for years. This is her first adult novel, and she's just really interesting to talk about in the background of the book being in Detroit, which is where she grew up. And Catherine Stock at the Calamity Club, we had a great conversation. It was before the book even came out. And this has been one of our most watched interviews, and I really enjoy talking to her. Okay, our summer reading books. Dun, 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 here we go, drum roll. Our latest book is Daughters of the Sun and Moon by Lisa C. Enter by tomorrow, Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to win that contest. And that is a different time. We've got some issues with the meetings and things that we're doing. And the next book going up will go up around that time, and it's Last Carolina Summer by Karen White, and that will be up for 24 hours. So we're making a little bit of a change this week, but hope you can follow along with us. And we've still got some great contests to come. Our word of mouth titles tell us what you're reading, and you could win a pair of Aces by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray, and Whistler by Ann Patchett. Enter by this Friday at June 12th at noon. All you have to do is tell us what you're reading and tell us something about it. This is not hard. We've often heard from people that they enter according to what the books are. So we will be studying that further to see which weeks we get more entries because they like the books and they want to be able to win. So very, very interesting. We love what we hear back from readers. And so we're always trying to pick books you actually will be interested in. Okay, we're going to do a special evening event next Wednesday night, June 17th at 8 o'clock. Thank God the Knicks may not be playing that night if they play that long. It's not going to be on Wednesday. Tom cleared that up for me. These books are going to be releasing this summer that we think you're going to be enjoying. Some of the books will be books that we've talked about here and in previous presentations, but as always, we will be bringing you some others as well. And this is for the people who have gone back to working all day long and are not there to be with us in the afternoon. So invite your friends. Tell your friends that have never watched us before that they may be interested in doing this. Just send out an email. And it'll be a nice way for them to find out what books, and they'll get the list as you do. Okay, what's our next book group event? It's our last one of the season because we're really going to try and take July and August off and not have an evening event. Bruce Holsinger is going to join us to discuss Culpability, a national bestseller, an Oprah's book club pick, and a book reporter bets on selection. We're going to be talking about AI in this book, but we're going to talk about it in the terms of a car that drives itself and a family and what happens to that family. Bruce is great. I interviewed him before. He's looking forward to this. Lots of people signed up. Let's get lots more. It's our last event. We're already working on programming for September, October, and November. And as soon as we get that locked down, we'll be sure to let you know. So you have time to read this book. You still got a couple of weeks. And we want to thank Isha for all the presentations that she built for us. She is our intern who has just left. She is absolutely amazing. We're wishing her the best in whatever she does next because she's just been a really, really terrific asset to our team. And I got a lovely note from her yesterday, and we're really girl power. We're doing anything that we can help her for her next step in her career. Okay, so when's our next afternoon event? Okay, you mark it down, the second Wednesday of the month. Yep, July 8th. We're going to be back at 2 o'clock. And we are going to talk about books that come out from July 7th, more than what you saw today, through August 4th, and a peek ahead of September. So that will be Wednesday, July 8th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The 4th of July will be behind you. We would have been hit the second centennial. It's all over. You can get back to reading. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you for our next Bookaccino Live presentation. Thanks so much, everybody.